It's time to get nerdy, y'all.
A little bit of gaming history for you.
Something relevant in gaming and discuss our opinions on it.
Should we kick it out of here, or should we kick-start it?
This is the part where you, the listeners, try to stump the hosts.
I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on a podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, lads and lasses of all ages, welcome to the show. It is Monday, February 9th, 2026, and it's time to get nerdy, everybody. Welcome to episode 369 of Two Nerds in a Pod, the nerdiest gaming podcast in the multiverse. I am Mac, and I am joined by my friend, my comrade in gaming commentary, but we all know him as Mr. Nice Guy 425. And for the next hour, we are going to cover topics ranging from news, history, trivia, lawsuits, and everything in between as they relate to our favorite art form, video gaming.
That's right.
But first, Mr. Nice Guy, it's been a week or so. How you doing, dude?
Dude, I'm doing really well. And I don't think anything spectacular happened. Did watch the Super Bowl this weekend, and shout out to the Seattle Seahawks. My Seattle Seahawks for winning.
Yeah, your Hawks clinched it, didn't they?
Clinched it, man. They won. They won handily. And, 10 years ago, they blew the Super Bowl near the end in the fourth quarter. And so this was some redemption against the same team that they lost to 10 years ago. So same franchise, not same team, right? But anyway, that was kind of cool to see. Hung out with the family, smoked some meat, and watched the game and had a really good time. And yeah, Mac, that's it for me. What about you? What's new with you, man?
I have a quick but stupid question about the NFL.
Sure.
In the Superb Owl show, are there any of the players who were or anybody affiliated with the Seahawks that were there 10 years ago for the loss that are still there now for the triumphant victory?
No.
Okay.
No, and I could be wrong. There could be like a training coach or something who used to be a player that I don't know about. But no, it's pretty much a new team, new coach.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a new face of the franchise. Shout out to Sam Darnold, our quarterback, for getting it done.
Well, congratulations to them and the team. I'm sure victory well won. For me, Nice Guy, nothing really crazy went on this week aside from a trip up to Portland. Hung out with some friends, got some stuff done up there, and then skedaddled back pretty quickly. Went up on Friday. We were back late Saturday and had a relaxing weekend from there.
Love it.
But yeah, I did not make it to any video game retro gaming stores.
It's all good.
However, coming up next week, I will be doing a return visit, and that I will have more of an opportunity then. And I suppose I'll just throw this out there. I shall not be here for next week because of this trip. But if you still want some Mr. Nice Guy, I suppose there's always an option for you to get some next week.
There is, because I'm actually going to be guesting on a podcast created by two friends of us, the members of the community, the Two Nerds community. Spennis the Menace and Ruckus host a show called Ruckus and the Menace, which is traditionally a sports pod. And I think we will talk about sports, but I think we also will talk about video games and other things. So I don't know that they record that live, but you can watch it or listen to it after the fact. They do put it on YouTube. Meg, I got to say one more thing real quick, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I saw this post on LinkedIn or Facebook or one of those social platforms, and it was talking about how I think it was like 38% of adults feel like they do not have a close friend or like a close circle. And it said that is such an important thing to have in your life. This is what the post said. Whether it's just a standing coffee to talk, whether it's going to the gym and playing pickup basketball, or whether it's D&D or just gaming, whatever it is, like, it's so important for adults, for people of all ages to have a close friend. And I thought about it, and I do have close friends. One of my closest, if not the closest, is you. And this standing coffee date every week, known as our podcast, Two Nerds in a Pod, that we've done 369 times, not including going back to when we used to do Man Cave TV in my basement back in the day, is one of those things that helps keep me sane in this crazy world that we are living in. So for those out there who don't have that in your life, find it, create it. It is so important for your mental health to have that connection. Mac, that's it.
Well, nice guy. In honor of Black History Month, I had somebody I wanted to give a shout out to.
I forgot we were doing that. We're not going to get to video games today, y'all. Mac, please go ahead. And then I have some too.
Quick shout out to Claudette Colvin. She was actually a teenager who was kind of the proto Rosa Parks. She was asked to debus. I mean, like the details of everything are pretty well similar, but it was like 9 months before the Rosa Parks incident, of course, which we all know about, recently passed in January, which, you know, unfortunate, obviously, but she was one of the 4 plaintiffs in Browder v. Gale, which is the Supreme Court case that in 1956, in June 1956, which just tells you people can rule quick on stuff when it matters, that determined that the laws requiring bus segregation in Alabama were unconstitutional. And so wouldn't have been possible without plaintiffs like her. As far as I remember from reading Browder v. Gale, and it's been a while, I don't recall her ever being, or I don't recall Rosa Parks being one of the 4 plaintiffs in Browder v. Gale. So shout out to Claudette Colvin, no longer with us, of course, but still her very impactful contribution to Black history and getting segregation in one of its forms removed from here.
Absolutely. And for mine this week, and I don't think I shared about this gentleman last week. Last week, I think I shared 3 things. S.A. Cosby, Mike Weinfeld, and I believe I talked about Up a Yard, which is great Jamaican food. This week, I want to talk about an artist, a comic creator who I am a huge fan of, named George Gant. He writes this comic series called Beware of Toddler, and I don't kickstart much, but I did kickstart his book back in the day and got a copy of it for my kids, and they loved it and read it over and over again. It's not super deep. It's not political. It's literally just a dad and his toddler navigating the joys of being a dad with a toddler and the funniness that could ensue in that scenario. So if you have kids who would find that kind of thing cool, check out his books or just check out the webpage where he has plenty of free comics. And Mac, I'll keep it short and sweet today. On that note, I say we do what we do best. And we hop right up in that gaming news, my friend. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. What is new in video gaming?
Dude, so much. Welcome to episode 369 of 2 Nerds in a Pod. 369, as Lil Jon would say. GameSpot.com, Mac. First news story. Next-gen Xbox sounds similar to Valve's original Steam machine. This is written by Evan Campbell on February 9th. Evan writes, Microsoft will reportedly partner with other computer companies like Asus for a variety of next-gen Xbox systems. Obviously, this isn't new territory after launching the ROG Xbox Ally handhelds, but it would be groundbreaking on the home console front. The strategy also seemingly echoes Valve's original vision for Steam machines from over a decade ago, in which they talked about teaming up with a dozen companies for different hardware options. According to Windows Central, Microsoft is looking at making a premium system that could retail for as much as $1,000. However, Windows partners could then offer more price-friendly models of the next-gen Xbox, giving people various options to jump in. Mac, here's my question for you, because we've talked before about the potential Steam PC.
Yeah.
And we've talked about how it could be effectively like everything you need in a console. Like, it plays the Steam stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure people will mod it to be able to do other things. But with Steam comes access to a lot of Xbox titles. With Steam comes access to a lot of PlayStation titles that are exclusive. And with Steam, with the PC, comes that modability where you can potentially put other stuff on there. My very difficult question for you, what does Xbox need to do to make people purchase what they're putting out over what Steam is putting out when they're talking about a $1,000 price tag for a home console?
Okay, nice guy. I can only speak to me and assume that everybody else in the world is just like me.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes right down to it, the biggest determining factor is probably going to be price. And if they are solidly on that, this is going to be $1,000, I think they might struggle because it doesn't take all that much more to have a just normal PC.
Yes.
Who knows? Maybe that could change, The only constant in life is change, but I just don't know if at those kinds of price levels you're not going to get just people going all in rather than settling for something that's been built for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And as usual, I agree. Not as usual, but as often, I agree with you like 90% of what you're saying. I think that it comes down to price, but I see it as different because even if the premium version is $800 and then they have lesser versions for $700-$600, but Valve's thing ends up being $1,000. In that scenario, I don't think there is anything Xbox can do to make people choose them over the Valve box, the Valve PC. And maybe I am minimizing the importance of $200, but I feel like once you get to that $800 level, why would you not pay an extra $200 to get access to Steam? Because once you have the Xbox, let me rephrase this. Once you have the Steam box, you have access to Xbox Game Pass, right? And Xbox wants that. Like, that's how they've built this. And so to say, you know what, I want $200 more, and I want it from a company that I know is potentially going to support this for much longer than Xbox will support their console, just based on history. And then my personal bias, Mac, is that Steam has done a lot more to build up goodwill with me than Xbox has over the years. Xbox 360 will always be a game changer for me and always will be part of the console generation that turned me from a casual gamer into a hardcore gamer. But Steam's level of customer service, Steam's sales, even just, this is going to sound corny, but the general vibe that I get from Steam would make me spend $200 extra to go over them, or to go for them over Xbox.
Yeah.
I don't know what Xbox can do.
I mean, I don't know either. I mean, if we take a look at, like, what you're saying, like, company, like, the vibe you get from a company, the vibe we've been getting for the past several years from Xbox has been buy up a whole bunch of game development studios and lay off everybody. So, yeah, but, you know, get their IP so that we can include it in Game Pass. I think they've shot themselves a lot in the foot for me wanting to contribute money to their ecosystem, but also just throwing it out there. Like you said, dude, they've kind of boxed themselves into a corner. They've essentially put so much into things like Game Pass, which you can get other places. What advantage, what do they have to keep you exclusively to them? And the answer is basically nothing.
It's tough. Unless they come out with something that I don't know that I always needed, some quality of life change. It's not going to be exclusives. It's not going to be games, because those are everywhere. Then yeah, I don't know. Maybe if my Xbox can give me a foot massage, like, I don't know. I'll consider it at that point. But I don't know what else. I don't know what else it could do. Well, Mac, let's move on, and we'd love to hear from y'all. I don't have the chat open yet, but if you're in the chat, let us know what you would need from your next Xbox. Mac, let's move on to a new topic. This is also on GameSpot.com, written by Levi Winslow. French president considers gaming restrictions amid growing concerns for young people. Here is what Levi writes today, February 9th. French President Emmanuel Macron has clarified his statements on banning video games in his country, explaining that although no ban has been put in place yet, he's not opposed to it, or other restrictions should there be enough scientific research to warrant them. Interesting. Macron took to LinkedIn on February 7th to defend himself against potential critics who, as he said, misunderstood the intentions of his recent statements. According to French newspaper Le Monde, Macron supports the gaming industry. He congratulated French studio Sandfall Interactive for the massive achievement that is Clair Obscur Expedition 33, but still wants to have a serious debate about the health impacts that excessive gaming can have on young people. Here's the last quote we're going to read from this, Mac. Quote, parents observe that some young people spend their days and sometimes their nights playing video games. It has often been reported that games rated PEGI 18 are being played by children, Macron wrote. This is a major public health, education, and responsibility issue. For physical health, eyes in particular, the mental health when a young person no longer goes outside at all because they are playing excessively, of course, that is worrying and we must address it. All right, Mac, general thoughts on this? Using science to justify potentially banning or limiting, he didn't quite clarify there, video games in his country, in France. What do you think?
So, poorly done science can be used to justify an awful lot of bad ideas. I have saved for many years, and still every so often take a look at it, a paper where they basically do this study, and using techniques that are perfectly reasonable for massaging data prove that listening to the song When I'm 64 by the Beatles de-ages you by more than, by on average, a calendar year. Obviously ridiculous that science does not support at all, but you can massage data to arrive at whatever sort of conclusions that you want. And I shouldn't need to point to too many things to demonstrate where we can find modern day examples of that kind of nonsense. So what I'm saying is that I have all the understanding in the world for people who say that too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. I think there's nobody on the other side of that. But I do get a little bit skeptical, especially when people say that they want to do something to an art form and they'll justify it through science. I get worried about motivated reasoning in the first place. So I hope that they don't, but like, I don't know. I feel like I've seen this show before.
Yeah, we've seen this before, and I don't know, man. Like, it's interesting because I've been thinking about this a lot lately. So I play video games. I have a job. I am fairly articulate. I'll be so confident as to say I am more articulate than the average person. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
I have a podcast.
You make me look like a Dunsky, and I appreciate it. I like basking in your shadow.
That's absolutely not true.
Very true.
We have a successful podcast. You know, I speak regularly in both my day job and my night job. And so the idea that video games can be damaging, to me, is always kind of tough. Because it's true. It's true, Mac. Like, if there's someone who does nothing but play video games, it's absolutely damaging. And if it's someone who's young and they don't learn how to do other things, to have social skills, to read, to do math, to speak in public, to have good hygiene, if they don't learn those things, that's bad. But video games are not generally the reason for that. Even if that's their main hobby, there's something else that's going on that's causing that to happen. So as a parent, the thing that I've found, and not even as a parent, Mac, like it could be as an uncle, it could be as just a member of society, right? We all can have this perspective that balance is important. And with balance is not complete elimination of something. So the idea of eliminating video games in your country, to me, is wild. And it sounds like he may have been taken a little bit out of context. But I've come to take a little bit softer of an approach to this as a dude with a gaming podcast and acknowledge that there's truth to some of these studies. That, yeah, it's not good for your eyes to stare at a screen all day when you're young and your brain is developing. Yeah, it's not good to not go outside when, you know, you could be outside getting exercise and socializing. But also, there are a lot of benefits that come from playing video games in terms of critical thinking, in terms of problem solving, and much like in the form of reading books, in the form of empathy from the stories that you play and the characters that you experience and the different perspectives that you see. So this is not an all or nothing thing. This is something where I'm taking a much more middle approach than I have traditionally. And that's my thoughts, Mac. Anything else you want to say about this?
Part of a balanced breakfast.
Part of a balanced breakfast.
And I could hardly agree with you more. Nice guy, testify.
Let's keep it moving. That's been our news for the week.
All right. Well, now let's take a little look into the past with something we call video game history. Mr. Nice Guy, there have been some fantastic games released in this week, but in years before. And Nice Guy, I do want to start back in 1999 with the Nintendo 64, a little game called Mario Party. Now, I have some small experience myself with Mario Party, the first, but I wanted to ask if you had ever, or, dominated at Mario Party.
I have never been good at Mario Party, and I don't know that I've ever even owned one. My memories of Mario Party are playing it at other people's homes, at like a little get-together. Well, some might call it a party, even.
Featuring Mario.
Featuring Mario.
So I have never, not once, won a game of Mario Party. in spite of the fact that I have played it over and over and over again. I think it is one game in which I am cursed with the worst luck ever. Always striking out, never getting the right numbers on the box, and for whatever reason, always struggling. Always comes up the mini game that I'm worst at on any given situation.
That's tough. That's tough.
And of course, Mario Party 1, some of you who played it a lot like me, when I say it, might start rubbing the palm of your hand. It was somewhat infamous for the mini games where you had to very quickly rotate in a clockwise direction the joystick on your N64 controller. So much so that later on there was some hubbub about it hurting children and Nintendo sending out free gloves to protect your hands when playing Mario Party, or at least a rebate on some as well. But anyway, Mario Party, I do have some fond feelings, although they are very tempered with frustration, if I'm being perfectly honest. I'm glad to hear that you had a better experience. Sounds like you may have won a round or two.
It was an average experience. Like, it wasn't something that I was thinking about after I left. But it's a good game. It's a good franchise. I get it. I get what it's doing.
Yeah. Well, we'll step ahead a little bit more into 2015, a game released for the PC that I think you'll remember a little bit more fondly, a game called Evolve.
Oh, yes, indeed, Mac. I loved me some Evolve.
Dude, what can you tell me about Evolve? Because I completely missed that whole bus.
Yeah, so Evolve was effectively some of the devs who worked on Left 4 Dead. They went and created their own studio, or went to go work for a different studio, and they created a 4-on-1 monster hunting PvP game. And Mac, what that looks like is I believe it was 4 people who are hunting this beast. And there were different classes. There's like a medic, there's like assault, there's like a tank, there's something else. And then the monster is effectively trying to hide and to stay alive long enough that it can evolve into a bigger creature while also potentially trying to kill the 4 players. Go ahead.
Was the monster also being played by another player?
Yes, the monster was also being played by another player.
Cool.
So that's what made it so interesting is I don't believe there was any way to party up. So you would go into a game and you don't know if you're going to be the monster. You don't know if you're going to be out with the other 4 people. So that was a little bit challenging, but like really, really cool concept. And I honestly feel like it was really well executed. I just don't think it ever got the audience to last. And so then they went free to play and then it just kind of died out. But great game, great memories. Spennis and I used to play that game together. Had a blast.
Delightful. Of course, I remember. We were friends back then. I remember that you would play Evolve and you would talk about it, but I certainly missed out on it. So thanks for contributing that, nice guy. Now, if what we've talked about so far in gaming history has been a bunch of games focused on groups, teams, parties, whether in the meat space or in the virtual space, the next one is a distinctly single-player experience. In 2016, released for, at then, the modern-day systems, a game called Firewatch. Now, Mr. Nice Guy, have you ever played this one before?
That's one that I have not, but it's always been on like the cusp of me purchasing it because it's often like $2 on the Steam sale, but I haven't played it. Looks great.
Yeah, so it has a vibe. Let me just tell you that it throws you down in the middle of a national forest. You are a fellow by the name of Hank, and the idea is that you're kind of running away from some problems in your own life, and you're in this secluded area in the 1980s, I believe the late 1980s. So it's not like cell phones or the internet is a thing for you. And it winds up being I guess you could call it a walking simulator, as you do a bunch of walking in some beautiful scenery. But there is definitely some interestingness going on. It really plays with themes like isolation and belonging and such. And yeah, it's a good game. It was nominated. It was nominated for some BAFTAs. for
Okay.
the gameplay direction. So definitely an interesting title. I will say you can probably beat the game in about 4 hours, so it's not a long experience.
Got it.
But it is definitely something that, kind of like you were saying earlier about how video games can give you a certain experience in a way that you would not have gotten yourself. You know, a little bit empathy.
100%.
I would say that Firewatch is definitely a good game for that. Experiencing, you know, the wilderness of a national forest in the 1980s. Not much of something that I think many of our listeners will have had the opportunity to do, but still, good thing to try out. Anyway, Mr. Nice Guy, that's what I had for video game history this week.
Love it, Mac. Man, Evolve, I forgot about it. I wish those servers were still up, man. Servers should just stay up.
That would be great.
It would be great. It would be really great. And Mac, now it's time for us to bring back a segment that's one of my favorite segments of all time. It's a segment we like to call Indie Game of the Week. A segment where we talk a segment where we talk about a game that may deserve more attention and let you know if it deserves your attention. And Mac, this week we're going to be talking about a little game on Steam called Alenda de Niterói. I hope I pronounced that right. To give you a brief description of this game, it is developed by Seven Moons. It is also published by Seven Moons. And here's the description. Embark on Arariboi's, I can't pronounce that name, journey during the 16th century struggle for Guanabara Bay. Explore lush forests, face Tupinambas and French forces, and uncover ancestral echoes that still resonate today in an action-packed adventure with exploration and Metroidvania-inspired elements. Mac, this game costs $2.99 on Steam, and as of right now has 8 reviews on Steam. So it's not... And, oh, by the way, and it released January 6th of 2026. Or January 4th of 2026. So about a month ago. Mac, before I share my thoughts on this game, where did you play this game and what did you think of it?
So I played it on the Steam Deck, and I quite enjoyed it. So, like, yeah, it was an inexpensive game, but it's set in, like Lam was saying, like 16th century Brazil down by Rio de Janeiro. So, like, I could not begin to pronounce most any of the words involved in it. But that doesn't matter because it spoke to me, Lam, in the language of my heart, which is side-scrolling platforming Metroidvania. And that is my love language. There were also a whole bunch of like notes, right? You could platform around, you could find notes.
Yes.
And those would be, you know, explanations of like, oh, here's like this spider that is one of the most dangerous in the world. Or, hey, here's this flora or other fauna that is, you know, that exists. And usually descriptors about like, oh, what was going on in the area, maybe what it was known for, things like that. So it was, in addition to being, you know, a platforming game, it had some pretty reasonable educational things that were sort of woven in there, even though the notes was just kind of the only way that you got that information. I was like, oh, so like I don't have to stop and close a bunch of text boxes about Mac, listen up and hear the story about how about Rio de Janeiro was founded. It was rather just like, you know, read the notes if you're interested. If not, you know, keep on the platforming goodness. Anyway, Nice Guy, I quite enjoyed it. And I think it was probably a steal at the $2.50.
Did you get it on sale?
No, I think $2.50.
I think it's $2.99.
$2.99.
Same difference. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, same difference.
But yeah, no, I didn't get it on sale. Just bought it straight up. But yeah, I liked it. I got some more to say, but I want to hear about your experience.
So that's another thing that we should mention is we actually, Mac gifted this to me. And so quote unquote, we paid for this game, right? A lot of times the devs send us stuff. This is one that Mac saw and thought was interesting, and so we decided to review it and pay for it ourselves. Mac, I'll be honest with you, dude. I was not feeling this game.
Okay.
And so it's interesting to me that you so much enjoyed it. And I wonder if part of my frustration with the game is the fact that I have played so many Metroidvanias that are elite. And just played Silksong last year. Now, of course, Silksong $20, this game $3, like apples to oranges. It's not the same thing. But to me, when you say that a game is a Metroidvania, there should be much, much more in terms of tools, in terms of abilities.
Should there be a map?
I do think that there should be a map. I think there should absolutely be a map. And so when I press the start button or the pause button on Steam Deck and there's no map, I think, oh, I'm just going to have to remember all this and backtrack to what I need to find without any type of visual aid. And to me, that's just unacceptable. I don't want to, I have such a hard time crapping on people who are making games or making anything, but that is just lazy game making. That's just lazy. Don't put the Metroidvania tag there if you're not going to provide an unlockable map that shows more of itself as you progress. That's key to Metroidvania. Mac, I could say more about the combat. Like, everything to me was very basic. This is a very basic game that if, like, college students had made this as part of a competition, I'd probably think, oh, okay, great. But because this is actually a game that is on sale on Steam, I just think that there should be more level of polish. The last thing I'll say, and then I want to hear more from you, if this had been an NES game back in 1985, 1987, 1990, it would not have even been one of the best NES games at the time. And that's not an insult, but when you consider the fact that we've come such a long way in terms of quality of life, in terms of games in this side-scrolling genre, I feel like there's a lot that could have been done to make this better.
So I will agree with you that polished is definitely something that could be used. The game is a touch unpolished with respect to the animations. Could use some improvement. The AI, and I will tell you what, nice guy, I get destroyed by birds in almost every game that includes them as an enemy. It's my weakness. It's my kryptonite. And I definitely banged my head a bunch against the birds that can just flawlessly go through all of the, all of like the what would we call them? The like, the foreground that you can't move through, like all the obstacles.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, birds can just always just go straight through all of that nonsense. Whereas you're constrained by that. Hate that. Other things I could say, I think there was a moment when I legitimately thought about giving up on the game, which would have been just before I got the double jump. That was, there was this point where basically the ground is more or less lava, and you have to climb through the trees, and there's birds all over the dang place, and you just don't have the real effective method of combating them. But I stuck with it, did it, got to the end. I did enjoy myself, but I kind of knew going into it that I was going to be yearning for some more polish. I think if it had come out on the NES, I think we would probably have put it up there with some of the better NES games. But yeah, it may very not have been the best. But there's something about it. I enjoyed it. Of course, I'm kind of a sucker for something with a little bit less polish. I don't know, Lom. I do not regret the purchase.
When I say less polish, I'm not talking about 8-bit graphics, because I actually have I'm very, very drawn to games that are like 8 and 16-bit graphics in the modern day. I think that is cool. I like that aesthetic. But when I'm talking polish, I'm talking about like gameplay and the other things that you mentioned. Mac, G said something really interesting in the chat, and I know we don't have too much time to talk about this, but he said, indies are getting stale. Everything is either a 2D platformer or an alleged Metroidvania with no actual exploration or upgraded abilities. And I kind of agree with that. Like, I feel like there was a good stretch where we were getting a lot of really, really good indies. We were getting Celeste. We were getting Hollow Knight. We were getting, Braid. We were getting Bastion. We were getting, I could go on and on and on. Thomas Was Alone. And I feel like now Clair Obscur is considered an indie game. Right?
Yeah, there are those who call it.
Yeah, and so like it's a lot harder for indie games to shine, which is honestly why I think we need to bring this segment back frequently as we are planning on doing. So, Mac, curious if you were to rate this on a 5-nerd or on a 2-nerd scale, 1 to 5, what would you give this game? And then any last thoughts on the game?
I would say 4 out of 5. I think 4.
Wow,
Dude, for its price, it is terrific. It needs work. It could use some things like a map. But I mean, as a game, this is, as far as I'm aware, this is these guys' first game. I think it shows a lot of promise, and yeah, I think we could see very good things out of Seven Moons. Okay, maybe 3.5 out of
no,
5.
don't change your score. Don't change your score.
Okay.
It's good that we have conflicting views, because if you think 4, that's great. All I'm going to say is if you go back, listeners, and listen to some of our old episodes, listen to some of the other games that we've given 4s in the past, I don't think this comes close to any of those. Mac is going to like cry about this. I give this game like a 2, because here's how I'm rating this. I'm not rating it on is it worth the money? Like, that's part of what we have in this scale is it worth the money?
Sure.
But I'm also rating this on, as a dude who is now in my 40s, I'm rating this on, is it worth the time? Is it worth the time for me to play this game when there is so much other stuff out there? And to me, the answer is no. Now, it's a 2-hour game. It's not a ton of time, but that's 2 hours that I could be putting into exploring more in Hollow Knight Silksong or playing something else. And so to me, this game was just, it just really was not good, I thought. But I do think that you're right about them having potential to make good stuff in the future. So 2 for me, 2 out of 5.
Yeah. Well, obviously, we wish everybody the best.
Yeah. What do we got next, my man?
Well, Mr. Nice Guy, maybe something else that I'm crazy about that you're not. It's going to be a Kickstarter project. As you know, everybody, we like to take a look at projects that are trying to get off of the ground. We say whether or not we think they should be kickstarted or kicked out of here. And what I've got for you today, Mr. Nice Guy, is, shockingly, a game being made for the NES. Not just in the style, but for the actual NES. Atheos. A new sci-fi Metroidvania game for the NES. Hey, can you tell I have a type, listener?
A type of game?
If you're interested in this game, if what we say is interesting to you, the Kickstarter, it's $12 for a ROM file. If you want to get the NES cartridge, like the gray cartridge, $40 for one of those. And if you want something that's like complete in box, that has, sealed, has a cool box, pack-in material, $60. Now, they had an $8,000 goal. They already blew past that at $12,000 right now with 23 days left to go. The intention is to deliver these deliverables in August. Now, they say that it is complete. The game is already complete. And that this Kickstarter is really just for, some sales and basically the physical stuff. So that they can do it all, put it all together. Now, it's not the first Kickstarter that they've done, and it's not the first NES game that they've developed. They had one, I think it was a couple years ago, that was sort of like Zelda, and then you would go into areas where there would be like a light gun. So it would do a sort of like, we go into the dungeon, we have a shooting thing, and then we're back in the overworld Zelda style. Anyway, so they've done some stuff for the NES before. They have some experience bringing physical products to market. Now, I haven't done anything with their previous one, so I don't know how that is going to go. Well, anyway, Nice Guy, I've talked about it a bit. I'm sure you've probably had a chance to look at some of the stuff. Anything grab you about this?
Yeah, this looks absolutely amazing. Like, I'm a huge NES fan, and I like casually collect NES games. And And so I still have my NES from when I was a kid, and I'm always looking for excuses to hook it up and play it. And this is one of those excuses. Like, this looks really, really cool. I think the only challenge is to do that, you are obviously forced into that $40 price point, as opposed to just getting it for a ROM. And to me, there's something about the charm here that makes me want to actually play this on original hardware. So that's my only complaint. I wish that it was a little bit cheaper to get the physical, but I get it. Looks like it has Blaster Master vibes. It has that element of getting in a ship and doing things. Looks like it even has like some Mega Man 2 vibes a little bit. And this just looks fantastic. I don't really know what else to say.
Yeah, so there is one thing I want to say, and that is, Nice Guy, if you want my money, if you want Mac's money, you need to bring a playable demo. You gotta show me that you can bring it together. And they say that the game is complete. Why isn't there a playable demo? Well, there is. However, it is way down in the table of contents.
Yeah.
Like, it talks about the gameplay, it talks about the story, the difficulty, the music and sound, and then the demo that you can download. It doesn't say anything about it in the video, and I have to scroll halfway down the page before I find the demo. Please, Retro Bro, that's the name of the of the studio, of the dev. Guys, you have to put that demo front and center. It has to be basically, if it's not in the video, if it's not referenced in the video, it needs to be the first thing above the story, above everything else.
Right.
Obviously, you're doing something right. What do you need advice from just me? But like, I was excited and then dismayed when I didn't see the demo, and then excited again when I got a chance to scroll down and try it out. So I will say this about the game. I believe, even though it doesn't say it in the Kickstarter, that if you back at just the ROM level, I believe you're expecting the ROM to be delivered before August, since it's already good to go, and that the other deliverables of all the physicals are in August because it takes time to print that stuff.
Sure.
And to manufacture and ship. So yeah, but no word, at least that I could tell, as to when just the ROM file is going to be delivered. But $12 isn't bad for a, modern NES game.
It's not bad at all.
Yeah, that's just the additional detail, flavor I wanted to add in. But yeah, so I think I'm ready to issue a ruling.
Yeah, me too. I'll say kickstart this. I think this is fantastic. I don't think August is so far that it's ridiculous. I guess the one thing I didn't say that I'll say now is it's branded as an NES game, but the reality is it's just a game unless you buy the physical, right? Because that ROM is going to be played on a Steam Deck or a PC or an Analog Pocket or something like that. So it's really just a game in NES-style graphics, which we have plenty of. But it looks awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'd say Kickstart as well. I think it ticks all of my boxes, and with the demo, something that I could try out, very enjoyable. And there's 20 days left to go, so you guys can check out this for yourself. Take the demo for a test drive, see if it's yours. I do really appreciate in the gameplay about how they focus on balancing energy between things like your jetpack, your special weapons, and so on. But anyway, that's where I'll leave it, at least for now. But we do wish Retro Bro the best in this game, and thanks for creating, people. Thanks for creating. That's been Kick or Kickstart.
Mac, are you going to personally kickstart that one? Just curious.
I am.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, dude. It looks awesome. I might even do it at the $40. It looks great.
I, of course, have a flash cartridge for my NES, so I'll back it, and then I will be able to just throw the ROM on my flash cartridge. I actually have a whole folder on my flash cart that is just for, like, modern games.
Amazing.
That have been made for the NES.
I might do it as well. Well, now it's time for a segment we like to call Nerd Flex.
Woohoo!
A segment where you, the viewers, try to stump the host. Sometimes you do, sometimes you do not. And Mac, we're gonna dive in to a question right now from our test bank. If you're here live, you have a job to do. Let us know in the chat if you have a gaming question, multiple choice, gaming related, and Mac and I will use nothing but our noggins to answer it. But Mac, the first question that comes up from the test bank, randomly generated, is a special round question. Are you ready, Mac?
I'm ready.
Name 4 games set in space. Name 4 games set in space. Now, this is interesting because if we name 5, do we get it wrong? Or can we only name 4? What do you think?
Oh, I think we should name as many as we can, but 4 is the minimum, and I think between you and me, we can knock that out.
Let's do it now, Mac. What is your first?
Metroid.
Okay, Metroid, Outer Space. I'm going to go with Space Invaders. Space Invaders.
Interesting. Okay. There is a whole line of both Star Trek and Star Wars video games. I'll go with any of the Star Trek video games, and that's where I'll try not to dip too more than once into a franchise.
I am going to go with. Does Dead Space actually take place in space?
Oh, it has
Dead
to.
Space. I'm going to go Dead Space. 1 or 2, take your pick.
Yeah. I'll go with Halo. Takes place in space.
I am going to go with The Outer Worlds.
Outer Wilds.
Is that in space?
Yeah, definitely in space. It's on
Okay.
the planets.
Okay. We're going to do this all day. So I'm going to say, here's my last one, and then, Mac, you can do more. I'm going to go with Starfield.
I'll wrap up with Star Fox.
Well, let's see. Let's see what the answers are. Okay, so here's some of them. Oh, we missed a big one. Star Trek, Mass Effect. We didn't say Mass Effect.
Oh.
Halo is on here. Sid Meier's Space, and Alpha Centauri. Love it. Well, let's keep things moving. This is a JRPG question. We may have to rely on the chat for some help here, because I don't play a lot of JRPGs. How do the characters of Persona 3 transform? I do not know.
I've never played any of the Persona games. I assume that they have some type of a thing, like
Of a thing?
a
transform
gemstone, or like a transform thing, like the Power Rangers have a morpher. Why wouldn't they? So I'm actually. Maybe this is like, how sometimes like stuff will get lodged up in your brain?
Right.
What if it was like cards, right? Because I feel like in Persona, I feel like Joker is linked to something. I'm going to guess that they use like some kind of, it's like a card or a playing card or something.
I'm going to guess it's some type of like jewelry or some type of accessory that makes them change. So let's see what the answer is. Oh, wow, interesting. They shoot themselves in the head.
Okay.
Is the answer, which rated E for everyone. Shout out to France for not banning that game.
Yeah.
French president we were talking about earlier.
That's a callback, everybody.
That's a callback, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, we got one more question here. This is a Rockstar question. Which 2004 soccer film is Rockstar Games credited as producers? Ooh. Which 2004 soccer film is Rockstar Games credited as producers? I don't know.
I know nothing about football or football films, so...
Wasn't there a movie, Bend It Like Beckham? Was that a football or a soccer?
I mean, Beckham's definitely a soccer player, so...
That's the only soccer movie I can think of.
Hey, I'm with you.
Other than, like, The Big Green. The Big Green, but that was, like, 90s. So, I don't know. Let's go with Bend It. I'm going to go Bend It Like Beckham. I don't know. It's a movie called The Football Factory.
Football Factory.
Which I have never heard of. So, cool. Well, hey, we got one question right today, and that has been Nerdflix.
All right. Well, now we turn to a little bit of legalese.
Legalese.
As you know, I'm not a lawyer, but I do want to give a shout out to something called Court Listener. Okay, it's a non-profit organization that makes things so much easier for me and anybody else who wants to check out law-related stuff. So the system that exists for accessing federal court documents is called PACER, which, like any good government thing, is an acronym for Public Access to Court Electronic Records. And nice guy, when you search PACER, it charges you 10 cents per page. This is both for the documents you download as well as the search results. So, say you make the mistake of searching for Nintendo on Pacer, and it returns, 200 pages of results, you might think that that's going to cost you $20, but they, in their kindness, do cap it at $3 maximum for a search.
How kind.
But still, that's $3 for search results on Nintendo. And the document that you download, let's say that that's 45 pages, $4.50. Now, the saving grace of the Pacer system, and it certainly isn't its user experience, is that if you've rung up less than $30 in fees in a quarter, that's a 3-month period, y'all, they charge you nothing at the end of that quarter instead of anything. So basically, you build up the charges, and then, you gotta pay up at the end. So searching for stuff costs money. Getting the files costs money. And one thing that Court Listener does, right, is as a nonprofit, it will basically host all of that information, all of that public information. And if you download like the extension in your web browser and you pay the money for something on Pacer, Court Listener will make a copy of the information and post it free for everyone. So with that being said, I went looking for some court documents because they related to what I wanted to talk about today. They did not exist for free anywhere, but only existed on Pacer. But now they exist on Court Listener. So if you want to look at these documents yourself, thank you, Court Listener, for hosting it. And Mac is out a couple of bucks, but that's okay. I'm not going to spend $30 this quarter, so hopefully I'll be out nothing. Nice guy. With that shout out of the way, I want to tell you about a video game that's been having a rough time called Ashes of Creation. Have you heard of it?
I have not heard of Ashes.
Okay, let me give you a quick timeline. They had a Kickstarter back in May 2017 for this MMORPG, and it was wildly successful by $3.25 million in June of 2017. Now, at the time, when they did their Kickstarter, dude, they were promising a delivery in December of 2018. So, a little bit, a year and a half for delivery time on an MMORPG. Now, in September of 2018, so ahead of schedule, they pushed a free-to-play battle royale game called Ashes of Creation Apocalypse that was only available for 7 months. And then in July 2021, they said that they were switching from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal 5 for the game. Obviously, it had been delayed by a few years by that point in time, and the Battle Royale was just like, oh, this is just sort of a component of what the game eventually, the MMORPG, will eventually be like. There was a Steam Early Access that opened in December 2025. They called it Alpha 2 testing. And here's where things get interesting on the timeline. January 22nd, 2026, that's not that long ago, the studio head says, basically, y'all have heard some rumors about us laying off a bunch of people, but of our team of 250, we've only laid off 9 people. So everything's in the clear. January 31st, he says publicly that he's resigning in protest at what the board of directors wants me to do. Very enigmatic. February 2nd, several employees are saying that the whole studio is shutting down, that they've received notices that everybody's getting laid off. And also on February 2nd, the Alpha 2 build that they had put up in December comes down off of Steam. So lots of folks have been saying things, nice guy. And you know me, I say we shouldn't listen to what people say online, but rather what they say under penalty of perjury, and even then maybe take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
And thanks to Court Listener and me, of course, because I'm the one who bought it, we have the complaints. There are 2 complaints, Ortega v. Intrepid and Burdecki v. Intrepid. These are game devs, and in these complaints, they detail how they've been wrong and ask for there to be a class action lawsuit amongst the entire, the entire team. The details are a bit scant, but here's the gist. Because of 29 USC subsection 2101, if you are an employer over a certain size, and you're going to shut down a site of employment for 50 or more employees, you are required by law to give 60 days notice of your intentions to both the affected employees, the state government, and the city/county government. The idea being that a big impact like that, more than just the employees themselves need to know, you also have to alert the government. Now, the employees claimed that they got an email on Saturday, the 31st, that Monday was their day to wrap everything up and never come back. They did not get their final paychecks, they were not paid out for paid time PTO, and nobody received any notice before that. They were required to have the 60 days notice. That is what we know. What we don't know is anything else yet. But Mr. Nice Guy, since there is pending litigation, it is possible, yay, probable, Nice Guy, that we are going to get some discovery and those cool, sweet things like internal emails, documents, things that show us what's going on behind the scenes. And, Nice Guy, that's all the details we have now in the sordid tale of Ashes of Creation and what's going on over there at Intrepid Studios. But I'll keep you updated because I think it's gonna be spicy.
Let us know.
I will.
It's gonna be spicy, Mac.
Indeed.
Mac, you and I talk about legal stuff like some people watch like Real Housewives and all that garbage, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be spicy in the courtroom. It's gonna be real spicy.
Nice Guy, have you ever seen an episode of Real Housewives?
I absolutely have not, and I take pride in that fact. Are you going to suggest that I watch it?
No. I was going to say I have, and they do this thing where they basically do like these stingers where it's like, so-and-so, like they cut in a reality show, they cut to somebody and they're like, so-and-so's gonna need to watch their back, 'cause I'm a boulder coming to crush them. Or stuff like that. And I just feel like maybe there's something to that art form.
I don't think there is, but that's okay.
I will be cutting this in post.
To each their own. Well, Mac, on that note, thank you for tuning in, everybody, to episode 369 of Two Nerds in a Pod.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate y'all. Before we go, we have one last segment called What We've Been Watching and What We've Been Playing, where we talk about just that, the cool, nerdy stuff we have been into. And if you're here live, you have a job to do. Let us know in the chat what you've been watching and playing, because we're always looking for more nerdy stuff. Mac, what have you been watching and playing, sir?
So mostly what I've been watching, Nice Guy, has been a show called Schitt's Creek. Earlier this month, we lost Catherine O'Hare.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. And, as a tribute to her, I'm rewatching the whole series again. That's most of what I've been watching. As for what I've been playing, though, I did take the time to play through Firewatch this last week. So my recommendation for it in history is fresh. And also, of course, the game we were talking about for the indie game, which I'm going to slaughter the name again, but Alenda di Nitroy. And then, of course, I cracked open Fez
Classic.
for the first time in a while. And I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to give that another go. But that's what I've been up to. How about you?
So I played a little bit. I went retro, Mac, this week. And I played a little bit of the original Call of Duty Black Ops on the Xbox Series X. And frustrated me with Microsoft because you got to have Xbox Live to play it. And the only form that comes in is Game Pass. So I had to buy a month of Game Pass just to be able to play this 15-year-old game that I wanted to experience. But now my kids and I have access to Game Pass for a month. What else? Also, Black Ops Cold War. It's comfort food. It's the comfort food of video games. Some people want Black Ops 1 remastered. We kind of got it with Black Ops Cold War. We got a lot of cool maps from the original game. And other than that, Mac, I did play the indie game that we talked about, and I've been messing with my AP, my Analog Pocket. Comfort food of handhelds. Love it. As far as watching, a little bit of Fear the Walking Dead, and we're doing a rewatch of Stranger Things. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Why don't we just take it home? I'll take us home. How about that?
Yeah.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in to episode 369 of Two Nerds in a Pod. We appreciate you whether you're here live or after the fact. Be excellent to each other. Have a weekly coffee date with a friend. And be kind. Play video games. Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.